Chapter 4. Ben usually played football in the dinner break. Today, he just stood by the railings, looking anxious. Rose and Lauren went over to him. "What's up, Ben?" said Rose. "Don't you feel well?" "I'm fine," he said. "But I'm going to go back to the classroom and hide ready." Lauren gasped. "Shh! I don't want anyone to know," Ben whispered. "What are you going to do with him?" asked Rose. "I'm going to put him in my pencil tin. Then, just before the end of the school, I'll tell Mrs. Feather he doesn't seem to be in his cage. She'll make us look for him. But I will make sure he isn't found," said Ben. "And we will watch Zack. I bet he's going to be scared." "Brilliant," said Lauren. Ben went back to the classroom 5 minutes early. He put all his pens and pencils on the table and carefully lifted Ratty into the tin. It was a very large tin, and Ben had dropped it so many times the lid didn't fit properly, so Ratty could get plenty of air. Ben put some torn paper and a biscuit beside the rat to keep him happy. He was just closing the lid when Zack walked in. "Why is your stuff all over the table?" Zack asked Ben. "I can't get it in my tin," said Ben. He put the tin under his chair, out of harm's way. Zack looked suspicious. He would probably have pushed all Ben's stuff off the table if Mrs. Feather hadn't come in. The classroom was very noisy, just before the first lesson. So no one heard Ratty chewing his biscuit. But then the noise died down and Mrs. Feather began to talk. A faint scratching sound could be heard. It seemed to be coming from under Ben's chair. Ben coughed to cover the noise. Ratty was quiet for a few minutes. Then he started scratching again. So Lauren sneezed. "Achoo!" Next time Ratty made a noise, Rose pretended to get hiccups. "What's the matter with you three?" asked Mrs. Feather. Ben, Rose, and Lauren were silent. Suddenly, Ratty started rustling the paper. Ben coughed. Lauren sneezed. "Achoo!" And Rose hiccuped. "What's going on?" said Mrs. Feather suspiciously. Ben realized he couldn't keep coughing all throughout the lesson, so he said, "Ratty doesn't seem to be in his cage, Mrs. Feather." Everyone looked at the cage. "Goodness," said Mrs. Feather. She opened the cage door and felt under the straw. "Oh dear, he's escaped," she said. "Quickly, everyone, on the floor. Look under the tables. We mustn't let him go into the corridor." Everyone dropped to their knees. Everyone except Zack. He sat on his chair with his knees pulled up to his chin. "I see him," cried Ben. "He's under your chair, Zack." "Oh yes, there he is," said Rose. Zack leapt off the chair and ran across the room. "He's coming your way, Zack," cried Lauren. "No, no," cried Zack. "Calm down, Zack," said Mrs. Feather. "You're not afraid of rats, are you?" said Rose. "No," screamed Zack. "He's right by your foot," said Ben. "I don't see him," said Mrs. Feather. "He's invisible," said Rose. "Just like Vinnie?" "Oh, now he's on your shoe, Zack." "Ah!" shrieked Zack. He jumped up on the table, white with terror. Pete was the first one to laugh, and then Russell joined in. Zack's gang was laughing at him. And very soon everyone else was laughing too. With a terrible cry, Zack jumped off the table and ran out of the room. "Zack, come back," said Mrs. Feather, chasing him down the corridor. While she was gone, Ben sneaked Ratty back into the cage. "Don't tell," he said to the rest of the class. "Promise, won't you tell? Promise you won't tell?" "Of course we won't tell," said Pete. That was the best joke ever. Lauren leaned over to Rose. I reckon Zex lost his cat.